Welcome back to the Blythe Sew-a-long with Made for Mermaids. Today is day 6 and we are going to be attaching our skirts. First, we need to start by stabilizing the bottom edge of our bodice. That's to help prevent the skirts from pulling your bodice down because the skirts can be a little bit heavy and it can pull the neckline. So one way is going to be using knit interfacing. I have a 1-inch strip here and you would apply that to the wrong side of the bottom edge of your bodice and you would iron that on all the way around. But the way I'm going to be showing you today is going to be using clear elastic. So for that, I'm going to turn my bodice right side out. So I'm going to take my clear elastic. I have 3/8 inch here, but you can use 1/4 inch or whatever you can find, and you're going to exercise that elastic before you use it. And we're going to be stitching that on the right side of our bodice along the edge because mine is 3/8 inch, so I'm going to go butt it up right to the edge. But if you were using 1/4, you would do it 1/4 inch away from that bottom raw edge. And you don't need to pin it on or anything. You're just going to sew it on with your sewing machine, and you're not going to stretch anything. So I find it easier to do it just from the roll, and then I'm just going to stitch it on the top as I go around the bodice. And it's really important just to let them feed through your sewing machine at the same pace. You don't want to stretch either your bodice or your clear elastic. And now that we have the bottom edge of our bodice stabilized, it's time to attach our skirts. So we're going to line up those side seams and find the center front and center back of our bodice. And then we're going to place a clip or a pin there. Now I'm going to flip my skirt inside out over my bodice so that they can be right sides together, and I'm going to line up those 2 notches at the top of my skirts, the center front and center back notch, with the 2 clips that we just placed on our bodice, the center front and center back bottom edge. Now with our bodice and skirt matched at the centers, it's time to start pulling those bobbin threads to gather the skirt until the skirt side seam matches the bodice side seams. Now with the skirt gathered to fit the bodice, we're going to take it over to our machine and we're going to stitch it with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. On your regular sewing machine, you don't want to use a serger for this step. And just like we did when we attached the skirt tiers together, we're going to make sure that we keep our gathering threads out of the way and adjust those gathers as necessary as you sew them together. Now that they're attached, I'm just going to go and clip my gathering threads. Now I'm going to flip my dress right side out so that I can check and make sure that everything's to my liking, and then I'm going to start to pull out some of those basting stitches. And now after I've checked it out and made sure that everything looks good, I'm going to go take this over to my serger and I'm going to stitch along the raw edge without cutting anything off. So with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Remember, you don't want to cut anything off here. Now we have our skirts attached and it's time to give your garment another look over to remove any final basting stitches and make sure that the skirts look good and that everything attached correctly. And that's it, we're so close to being done. Now we just have one final step, which is going to be to hem our sleeves and our dress, and that's going to be day 7 tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow for the final day of the Blythe Sew-a-long.